All right, my name is Soji Ogunnaike, and I'm the co-founder, chief creative officer at Rushing Tap and Rushing Tap Studios. Essentially, I lead the team. I'm responsible for all things technical, creative, and execution, and I also ensure the business stays alive. So I've been a professional practitioner in the film and TV business or industry for 25 years now. Well, I would say the industry chose me because I had other plans, obviously. But I always knew that my career, whatever career that I'll end up in, will be tied to the computer. So I tried all sorts of things. I tried programming, I tried graphic design, I tried printing, website design, all the works. However, media, just kept on calling me because I like creating stuff. I like creating stuff out of nothing, and from graphic design to poster design, which I was doing while in school. I enjoyed seeing the final results of hours of work, and I started the journey from 3D animation through a friend in school, and I started using 3D Studio Max to do a few modeling, animation, and at the time it was the demand in the industry was for opening montages of TV shows. That was where most of the work was. So what I mean by opening montages, you have like either a sitcom or drama series. So you are required to create maybe a 20 to 30-second opening animation or opening sequence for the show. Then I mean got a few gigs here and there, and I was also introduced to the world of advertising. Advertising obviously paid better, and what the agencies required then was mostly pack shots, modeling products for the end frame of TV commercials. Modeling, and some of them were the entire promo ads were 3D animated. So that was a niche I found myself in, and I started to make a name for myself in the industry. Then I started doing video editing. Video editing, obviously was a much broader aspect of the industry that I practiced a lot more. From there, I landed a couple of gigs, as the editor of reality shows. Then I would say my biggest break was being hired as the technical director for Big Brother Nigeria in 2006. Prior to that, I was senior editor for the Amstel Malta box office, the first season, Ambo. And the director of that show at the time, was South African, who enjoyed the edit sessions that he sat with me in. I kept on saying that, look, I've got a lot more to offer than just editing. So when the Big Brother project came, which was produced by Storm Vision, a collaboration between Mr. Remy Ogubito and Mr. Obi Asika. They handled they were the production company that handled the entire production. So they handled that director, Mario Legrange, and who insisted for Big Brother that he would want me to be technical director as opposed to being editor. So that was, I would say, my biggest break. It was a fun project, because it was the first Big Brother in Nigeria, and obviously it was a big deal for everybody. And it was a big deal for me as well, being exposed to multicam, live switching, because as technical director, you're responsible for directing shots, placing cameras that need to be moved, and the actual switching. So talking then was about 27 cameras, if I'm not mistaken. So live switching 27 cameras, I enjoyed it because I'm a geek. I like toys, so obviously, it was fun for me. So that was my big break, like I said. And after that, I decided to start my first company, which was 601 Real Time in 2006 as well, right after Big Brother. So obviously, I was paid well. So I decided to, put some money together, do the registration of the business, get a small office, which was off Towing Street, and yeah, because I already had contacts in the agencies, so I obviously marketed the company to them. That's Como. It's no longer Soji with a laptop in his bag. Or, we are a small company, be giving us work, that kind of thing. And obviously, because I built that reputation, and the contacts in agencies obviously trusted me and decided to give us work. Starting with things like promos, animation, end frames, things like that. Then, we moved on to actual live action productions, where I served as director on the projects as well. So that's how I started, putting my hands in, different kinds of soups, from live action to animation to hybrid projects, and yeah. You see, the word mentorship is, I usually take it with a pinch of salt, because I've had very mixed experiences when it comes to mentorship. So what I mean is mentorship important? It's the most critical thing for any young business. The essence of mentorship is guidance, because it's any new business, essentially jumping into the deep ocean with a lot of sharks as a small fish. So the essence of having a mentor is someone that will guide you to ensure you don't repeat the same mistakes he made. That is the essence of true mentorship. However, I've realized that quite a number of people in the industry, or practitioners in the industry, are not very open. So I wouldn't call it mentorship. The young guys can call them mentor, but if you're not open to your mentee, then there's no point of calling yourself a mentor. So you've got to be able to say, look, this is how you do invoicing, this is how you charge, don't undercharge, these are the rates that you can give clients, because ultimately it also helps the industry. You don't want a certain level of practitioners to be charging this amount, and a younger level of practitioners charging way lower. It's not a good look for the industry. So I think that's one of the critical things that mentorship should do. If you're going to mentor someone, you need to be open. And this is, a call to, all practitioners out there, young and old. If you're going to mentor anybody, be open. If you're not going to be open, don't even start. Because the industry needs a level of transparency. And the secrecy that has, the industry has been characterized with is one of the reasons why we're where we are today, that we've not experienced, exponential growth. It's too much secrecy. We need people to be more open with each other.
Coming up in the industry, how did you get to lock your rates down? Was it based on what others were charging? As an upcoming director, producer, media company, did you give lower rates to try and attract more clients who would trust you, probably lower budgets, because you had you charge them less? So what inspired your rates?
Unfortunately, I'll speak for myself. Unfortunately, I was winging it in the dark. We didn't have access to, really open mentorship, where people will tell you that don't charge below this. Don't, things like that is what mentorship should be about. So I've actually had instances where we'll send in a quotation, especially to an agency, and it's the agency producer that will tell you, But this is too long. It's too low now. You don't want them to take it serious. You know what I'm saying? So I was fortunate to meet some agency producers that were honest with me, you know, and will tell you that no, you can't be charging it like this. You got to, charge market, not even markup. It's too low. It doesn't look good, and it's going to affect you because typically the agencies will get multiple quotes. If everybody's charging 2 million and you are charging 300,000, they will like, who is this one? Is he a roadside video man? Do you understand? So, so there were a couple of agency producers, to be honest, that were open and were genuinely wanted people to go. So I applaud people like that. But I think the industry needs more open and honest people. And the truth is that the industry is big enough. So there's no fixed rate. Especially with what's going on in the economy today, different brands have different spending power. The budgets have crashed significantly. Marketing budgets have been slashed. That's the truth. There's an economic downturn. The first department to feel the pinch is marketing. Everybody knows this. However, one thing I've noticed, especially with the young guys in the industry, is they have this ego about them. A good number of them have this ego about them. And they're not able to meet more experienced people and say, I have this opportunity, or this company wants me to do this for me. Especially if it's the first time, having that kind of opportunity or trying to work with such an organization. Nothing stops you from reaching out to an employee in the industry. I have this opportunity. This is what the brief is. This is what I want to charge. What do you feel? I don't think it's too much to ask anybody, and I want to believe a lot of millennials will be open enough to guide the younger ones. I want to believe. I won't speak for everybody, but it's something I would do. I've done it several times. Do like this. Many times I even give people templates I've used. Take this template, remove my logo and our stuff. Use it because it's the professional standard. Use it and do your quotation. Don't just, because it helps the industry. Like I keep on saying, it helps the entire industry. You can't just have only a few people doing well and the rest are just. It's not good for the industry. Okay, I've been speaking a lot about the service-based part of the industry, people that render production services. What I found out is that the secrecy is most prevalent in the content side of the business. When people are trying to monetize content, people that host TV series, films, things like that. That's where I've noticed that the secrecy is the highest. And yes, obviously I'm not saying people should breach their NDAs or, but there was a particular incident of a filmmaker. At the time, Africa Magic was licensing content, or they say buying content. There's a particular filmmaker that did a series, and she was going to license it to Africa Magic. So what happened was, because of proper guidance, she got a very good deal. And then Africa Magic was paying in dollars. She got a good deal. And subsequent producers were not even aware that they could monetize that well. And we're charging peanuts for their content, similar content. So when I got wind of it, I just thought that, why are we like this? Do you understand? It's a win for the network because you pay less. They're not forcing you. You agree to what they wanted to pay. But if you had that information, that this is the value of the content you've created, you know, it just creates a more healthy industry. All right. Dead Tide was our first venture into theatrical, um, into feature length films. The original plan or the original business model was, raise money, you put money together from in both internally and from investors, um, produce, high quality films and license to the streamers. Because at the time there was a streamer boom, which was 2024. Then rinse and repeat. That was the plan. However, when we eventually were able to put money together, we obviously started noticing the actions or the change in strategy by the major streamers, particularly Prime Video and Netflix. Prime Video made a very clear announcement that they were leaving Nigeria and Africa. Netflix didn't make a particular announcement, but from the actions we saw that they significantly reduced investment in Africa. So that's pretty much crushed the business model, and we decided to then pivot and do a theatrical release. Then from then on would monetize whatever platform or whatever channel we could find, because we already raised the money, we already gotten into pre-production, we're about to go to set for the principal photography. That's when the industry took a turn. We weren't going to stop anyway. So we decided to proceed with that strategy, and rejig a few things. So one of the things we did was we actually started looking, towards actors or faces that will help with the marketing, because from the budgeting stage of the film, we didn't earmark a lot of money for marketing. Considering we wanted to do direct to streaming deals, but now we're faced with having to go the theatrical route, which was a huge challenge because theatrical needs a lot of marketing. So we had to rejig a few things to make that happen. In terms of the production, technically we had quite a number of challenges on set. We shot the entire film in Badagry over 17 days. From the logistics to the technical challenges. Logistics, the price of fuel then was on a steady rise. So the cost of fueling the buses, the cost of fueling the generator was astronomical. It went above budget in that regard by about 40%, because of these costs. For instance, the hotel we got in Badagry, had just recently increased their rates, and we ended up, for the actors, we ended up paying almost 70,000 per room per night, which was way above what we had planned. But we had to do it, and obviously we're not going to bring actors, all the way from Lagos, we're still within Lagos, all the way from their houses to Badagry and put them in non-conducive environments. So yeah, we had to stomach that. The cost of running the generators, also cost of filling the buses that were transporting the crew around and equipment. were higher than we had planned. Cost of food, which was another thing that we didn't even know. Because I mean, we're going to shoot in Badagry. We assumed that, I mean, it's a riverine area. Things should generally be cheaper. But the amount we spent on food was, about the same amount we would have spent in Lagos, in the city in Lagos. And we just wondered, but I mean, there's nothing we could do. We just have, are we not going to feed the crew? Are we not going to feed the cast? We just have to stomach all those costs. So we were short our budget, obviously. So that's that. And apart from the technical challenges we faced, again, because it was my first feature-length film that was going to go to theatrical, one of the things I did was the brief to the producer was, let us get people that are used to working on feature length and films that have been on the streaming platforms. My assumption was because there's certain levels of professionalism and production value that they will bring. So it was my first time working with a good number of some of the crew, and while filming, we're just trying to, would I say, bond, or trying to understand each other. And to me, that was a huge mistake, because you should have synergy before you get on set. You should have that you should have the understanding with each other before you get on set. So it's a mistake I'm never going to do again. Working with, especially working with certain key roles for the first time on such an important project. Because it's going to tell on your synergy. Because you need to understand each other's temperament, understand each other, how you do things, how you think through, challenges, things like that. So I was just figuring that out on set, which is not a good thing. So yeah, that's a mistake. Whoever it is that's watching this video, don't make that mistake. If you've built a relationship with a certain crew, I would rather you invest in a short training before your big project, so they can upskill themselves to match your project. It's a more manageable risk, in my opinion, than working with entirely new people that you don't even understand each other. So those are the challenges, from pre-production to actual production.
So how about getting it into cinema?
So getting a film into the cinemas is a pretty straightforward process in Nigeria. From my understanding about how the industry works, thinking internationally, you should even have a distribution agreement before you go on set, which we did not because of the obvious reasons of the initial business model. However, by the time we finished principal photography, that was my first task, to secure a distributor. So the thing is, we didn't even have anything tangible to show distributors. We had a very rough cut, which I still think is the right way to do it, considering the situation I found myself. So that is what I was using to shop around for a distributor. And they posed a different set of issues, because I then learned that distributors in Nigeria expect to see finished products before they agree to take on your film, which I found very strange. But we learn every day. But I'll still go through the same process. But what I would do differently is I would ensure I even have a distributor before I even go into production. Because the thing is, there's valuable insights that distributors will give you, unless they're not being open with you. Things like your choice of cast, because they know the actors that the audience want, that will leave their houses to go and see. They know the actors that their posts on their social media brings results. They know, they have this data. So it's good to have those conversations with distributors that have been in the business, for longer than you. They're more knowledgeable about how things work, and they also would guide you on the release, the kind of release you should have. So another thing I learned is everybody's going for nationwide release, nationwide theatrical release. Which I think should stop. And here's my reason. Uh, every film, together with the actors in the film, have a core audience, and every region in Nigeria, you know, the audience in every region already have their favorites. So you should be able to match those and realize whether your product would even sell nationwide. And this is beyond egos as a filmmaker. You think you're doing the best thing since sliced bread. But no, you need to have those very hard conversations with your distributor. And say, oh, okay, these actors, are they even known? You're shooting a film in Lagos. You want it to be released nationwide, which includes the North, the Southeast, the South. Do people in those regions even know the actors that are in your film? And we're talking about ticket prices that are skyrocketing every day. A movie express today is not less than 10,000 naira. So you are telling people that probably don't know your actors to leave their house. They will wear makeup for the ladies. They will wear fine clothes for the guys, and they will enter Uber to come and spend over 10,000 naira to watch someone they don't know. It's not going to work. So you need to have those very honest discussions with your distributors, because they have this data. All of them have this data. So you need to have those conversations before you even agree on a release. So don't let your ego drive you to think because you've done a good film. I mean, it's hard work doing a film anyway. But because you've done a film, everybody in Nigeria is going to want to see your film. No. Everybody in Nigeria doesn't care about your film. You need to have a product that they want. If not, you're just wasting money.
Cool. So let's talk a little bit about the business model. You made mention a couple of times. For someone who is starting out his own business, how important is it for him to have a business model? How strict should he be on it? Because you also mentioned you had one, but which didn't pan out according to how you guys planned. So how flexible must one be able to, shift from one stance to the other? Because in terms of principles, there are a lot of people that tell you, I've already done this and I can't go back on my word, I can't go back on my plans. This is what I'm sticking to. So in terms of having a business model, one, how important is that, and how flexible must a young businessman, businesswoman in this industry?
It's not just this industry. In developing countries, the only businesses that survive are those that are nimble. If you are stuck in your ways, you're going to fail. There's no two ways about it. You've got to be nimble. So business models are nice. They're nice PowerPoint presentations, and nice documents that you like to see on a laptop, put on your vision board or whatever the hell you want to do. But you've got to be nimble, because the media landscape is changing every day. Today we have AI that's changed to replace people's jobs. You say you want to have business model. What business model do you want to have? You've got to be nimble. You've got to, observe the trends that are going on in the industry, and then see how you can tweak your business to adapt to the changing landscape. Even at us at Russian Tap Studios, we have a large studio facility. Not the largest studio on the island in Lagos. But we realized in the past year and a half, there's been a very, there's been a decline in the scale of productions. I mean, our studio is large, caters to large productions like big game shows, big film sets, big series, things like that. But those projects are not happening anymore. You don't need a crystal ball to tell you. What are you going to do with all this large space? You're still going to be, powering this place. You're going to be running the facility. You've got to get more revenue in. So one of the things we're doing is we're converting some of the spaces and modifying some of the spaces. Cut out this room, convert it to podcast studios. Cut out this room, convert it into small content rooms. So that's where we are going now, because we have to adapt to the changing industry. There's a huge, surge in the amount of content being created, and that's the truth. Everybody is creating content. Everybody's a creator, a content creator. Everybody's a YouTuber, but they don't need big spaces. They need high quality, but they don't need big scale or big productions. So things like podcasts, things like skits, things like sketches, they need small spaces, but they need, high quality equipment to do it as well. High quality personnel, need people that know what they're doing. So those are the people, and that's where the industry is going. So for those that have been set up as traditional broadcast production companies, you've got to rethink what you're doing. You've got to cater to the much smaller productions, and if you want to stay in business. So marketing, it's a very complex thing, especially in this business, because, for instance, you're running a production service business. You help brands or clients to create content for themselves. So marketing that kind of company, it's quite tough, because number one, professionally done content is not cheap. So the brands or the clients that want to do that are putting together a chunk of their marketing budget to do this content or to do those projects. And naturally, they only want to work with people that they trust, meaning their appetite for risk is much lower for that kind of money they want to spend. They rather work with someone that they've done stuff with together in the past. So to break in, there's several ways you can do it. But one of the important ways is content. You've got to demonstrate your know-how, demonstrate your ability, and showcase what you can do. So that's all content, and that feeds into your marketing funnel. And that brings me to the importance of having a funnel as a business. So essentially, a funnel is how your leads, people that don't know anything about you, know something about your business, and how their journey from just finding out about your business to getting more interest to then making inquiries and being a paying customer. So as a business, you need to have that funnel designed. So that most of my leads are coming from maybe social media or paid ads or newspaper ads, whatever it is. You then need to have a funnel that captures all of these leads, because data is important. Captures their data, then takes them through the funnel using different methods. Could be giving them free pieces of content, newsletters, social media posts. If you have the capacity, you can create your own internal podcasts that you can give them for free every week, or whatever it is. So that's how you keep those guys engaged, and eventually you'll be able to convert them to paying customers. So it's beyond just saying marketing for the sake of marketing. What is your funnel? How do you convert those people to paying customers? That's the more important conversation you need to have, rather than just doing marketing. So for instance, what we do is we always experiment with different marketing strategies, from paid ads to collaborations to even, for instance, Google search. I've realized that Google search could be important if you have a facility. You have like a studio, a content space. People will usually search for things like that. But if you're just selling services, you have to showcase. You have to showcase what you're doing. You need to get people interested. Oh, okay, this is a cool video. Okay, who did it? Then they make inquiries. So we've done paid ads. What I've learned is, because obviously paid ads you need to direct all of that traffic to a certain touch point or a channel. We've tried forms, we've tried email, we've tried chats, website chats, we've tried WhatsApp. What I've learned is I don't know why Nigerians we're just WhatsApp people, we're just chat people. For people interested in this our business. So if you dive with a landing page, which we've tried several times, it's very hard for them to fill the forms on the page. I don't know why we're like that, but it's just who we are. And we've adjusted all our campaigns to cater to that. So all we do is just direct, all of that traffic to WhatsApp. And luckily, WhatsApp has tools that you can use to do like quick responses or chatbots. So at least they can answer the first few basic questions. Then your in-house sales team can take it up from there. So that's what I've seen that works. Maybe we're not doing the other ones the right way, but that's what I've seen that gets a significant number of leads into our funnel. So there's a very, very popular phrase. People say personal brand. What's personal brand? Even workshops or master classes how to work with a personal brand. What I've learned is there's no personal brand without the business brand. Because at certain levels, nobody's going to deal with you on an individual basis. They want to work with an established company that has a track record. So in this business, especially in service-based business, your track record is your showreel. Your track record is your website. Content you put out there. Because the truth is, no company would give you business if they don't look you up. The question is, have you even Googled yourself, your brand? Not your person. Have you Googled your brand? What does the first 2 pages on Google say about you? If it doesn't say anything significant, then you need to work on that. Work on your SEO, work on your website, whatever it is you need to work on it. And so it's important to have that. Invest in proper websites. People underestimate how important that thing is. We've had 1 or 2 international inquiries and even business from people that just googled production companies in Nigeria, and we come up, right? And that just goes to show that if you invest in a proper website with the SEO, people will get it, and that's not even that people never knew before, but they send an inquiry via email, and so it's important to have those things. And another thing is thought leadership is important, even though personally I've been slacking in that regard as well, because you need to showcase that you are an authority in the business, you're an authority in the industry, you know what you're doing. I can't just keep on saying in these kind of interviews that I've done 25 years in the industry and people don't know. What does my LinkedIn say about what I do? What does my social media say about what I do? People will always look you up. That's the truth. So, in terms of personal brand, you need to demonstrate that thought leadership, by articles, posts, even, granting interviews like this, the opportunities to put yourself out there. When people come across it and they listen to even the first 10 seconds, they know that, okay, this guy knows what he's saying. Okay, well, what's his business? They look up a business, and from there, you don't know what can come out of it. So branding is a combination of several things. But personally, I feel the top of that table would be your digital footprint as a business. What comes up when they look you up? Second will be thought leadership. What do you, as either an individual or a business, what do you put out there? What are you showing? Even if you put a social media post, the caption, does it demonstrate that you know what you're doing? So it's just a combination of a lot of things. As a business, one of the most important things is process. How do you execute? How do you interface with clients? as little as responding to emails. A client sends an inquiry, not even a brief, an inquiry about what you do. When responding, ensure you have another member of your team in copy. That it then gives them a sense of, okay, there is a team, rather than only one person. And I'm assuming at this point you already have a professional email, with your, custom domain name, because you cannot be responding to big companies with Gmail address. It's 2026. A domain is well less than 10,000 a year. Everybody can afford one. So, and every domain purchase comes with free email. You might want to take it a step further and pay for Google, so Google will manage it, or Zoho will manage your custom domain. Run your emails using your custom domain. These are very inexpensive things to, first of all, set yourself apart. Then the response, to emails, copy members of the team. It shows that you guys have a team, shows that you have process. When eventually you get to do projects with such clients, what is your process? How do you, if it's, for instance, a brief to do a production, where are your timelines, your production schedule? Where's your call sheet if it involves a shoot? The call sheet. These are documents that you must, no matter how small the production is. Production schedules, call sheets, all the works. If you're working with actors or models, release forms. These are the things that you should have, documented. You should have a process. And I mentioned Zoho and Google. With these two tools, you can have templates that can use always, have these documents prepared. And these are very inexpensive ways to get these processes done. So I'm not saying, as a business, you must have enterprise grade, solutions, but as simple as Google Docs and Zoho, you can have these processes sorted. So I'm a fan of processes. What's important to get your shit together is nobody cares about you. The clients always settle for the ones that are, one, cost effective, and two, seem to know what they're doing, and they're comfortable with them. If you do not tick those boxes, you're not going to get business. It's as simple as that.